welcome to another episode of the Crispy Compact Communiqué, the traveling band podcast here for 2020. Somehow still doing the Crispy Noodle podcast you know and love, but in a slightly different format that we call the Crispy Compact Communiqué. I'm Rich Liebig.
I'm Michael Costanzo.
And it is our job to give you some interesting tidbits in sports, entertainment, odd news, and what else we happen to stumble across on the show. Thank you guys for tuning in on another interesting episode. We got some interesting topics to talk about. Before we get into all the news topics at hand, I would just like to say, yes, I'm reporting live from the Mad Men office this week. And Mike, where are you?
I'm in the middle of the woods with Negan. He's about to bash somebody's brains in, or two people's brains in.
Yeah.
From the Walking Dead. The theme, I don't know, we were sitting here before the show. We're talking about our Zoom backgrounds for audio listeners. And Rich is sitting in like an office. I'm like, what is happening? Are we going with like general, like generic business attire for this episode? And he pointed out that it was Mad Men. So I said, what's the theme? AMC shows?
Yeah, so there you go.
That's what we did. That's the theme.
Quality AMC shows for you right there. Mad Men and Walking Dead. Especially when Negan comes along. I feel like you're taking a page out of my book. I love Negan.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the, it's simultaneously one of the best and worst moments on The Walking Dead. Very divisive moment for fans.
It was a real home run.
Ah, ha, ha, ha. Oh, that's funny. You know, we're talking about baseball later in the show.
Yeah, it's just a little bit. But before we get into the sports news, Mike, how you doing? What's happening in Costanzo country?
I'm good. Staying as busy as you can with nothing going on. Been playing a lot of video games, watching TV. I've been getting more into HBO Max.
Yes.
Been watching... not anything that you would find entertaining. I've been watching a cartoon series called Infinity Train.
What? This is what I tell you, all the magnificent things you can do with HBO Max, including the instant subscription with Turner Classic Movies, and this is what you do with it. You do some sort of animation. Come on.
Yeah, of course. No, well, I have been watching Watchmen as well. That you can get on regular HBO, but I've been watching a show called Infinity Train, where the gimmick is that people who need to work through something in their life get transported to an endless train where they have a number assigned to them, a glowing number tattooed on their hand, and every train car is themed differently. There might be a train car that's filled with talking corgi dogs. There might be a train car that's filled with, I'm trying to think of another one, like mirrors and reflections. There's one with a maze. And whatever obstacle they have to work through in the train car reflects something that they have to work through in their personal life to get their number down to zero to get off the Infinity Train. So it's actually really compelling. It has this nice little sci-fi twist and some really strangely poignant, powerful moments in it as these characters go through these big changes. Not only that, but the episodes are 11 minutes. So you can
that's good.
Tear through the entire season of 10 episodes in under like 2 hours. So I'm on season 3. I had watched season 1 previously, watched season 2 recently, and now watching season 3's HBO Max original. So it got a lot of praise. If you look up the series, it got a lot of good critical praise. So I would highly recommend checking that out. But to your point, there are a lot of other great features on HBO Max as well, like the Turner Classic Movies. To go back to animation, I know you're not a huge fan, but Studio Ghibli, one of the most revered Japanese anime studios, they have, Spirited Away and all their classics on there. They have
an arrangement.
Old sitcoms like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which is getting rebooted as a drama at some point, which it might work. It might work just as well as a drama. There were some really heavy episodes.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Are you just tired of the constant reboot culture?
Yeah, that it seems lame.
Yeah.
Just gut feeling, it seems lame.
Gut feeling? Well, we'll have to see. Will Smith is attached to it, so we'll have to see how it turns out. But yeah, give HBO Max a shot. If you have HBO through cable, you get it for free, so why not? Not for free, but with your subscription.
Right.
So that's what I've been doing. What have you been up to, Rich?
So I bit the bullet and I bought the Outer Worlds.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. And I don't hold me to the fire yet. I literally have only played like 5 minutes of this game, because literally.
So you saw the title screen.
Yeah, literally every time I boot this game on, something happens in the house. Either either the cats start meowing at me, or I don't know, my mom has something, or I get a call. It's been bizarre. It literally is like I make it like a couple of minutes and I get engrossed, and then something goes haywire. So while I bought the game, I haven't had a chance to actually delve into it yet. The only thing I've made it up to is creating your own character, which is actually more interesting than it sounds.
How so?
Because it's part Mass Effect and part create your own role-playing character kind of a thing. Okay. So when you create your character, there are a certain number of traits you can get that you can divvy out between. Is your character going to be a tough guy, a lot of strength? Is he going to be a weapons expert? Is he going to be a charmer? Is he going to be like a Deadeye? So there's a lot of interesting avenues you can go with. But what's interesting is, as they have an attribute system, they also have like a de-attribute system, where if you're willing to what they call take a penalty, you can excel. You can take the points from that and really excel into another strength. But but whatever you take the penalty in, it will hurt you.
Right.
And what's really funny is one of the things is intelligence, and it's supposed to be gun intelligence. It's supposed to be how well you can aim for a head, how well can you aim for specific body parts. But they realized that they labeled it intelligence. So if you choose that as your penalty, a warning actually comes up and says your character will be perceived as dumb, and you will have only dumb dialogue options throughout the rest of the game. And I was like, that is the weirdest disclaimer I've ever come across. It's basically like if Shepard just
if you choose the renegade option for everything.
But no, not even that. Apparently it's like dumb. Like
actual dumb.
Like
people need that warning in real life. If you do this, you'll be perceived as dumb. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes.
Like click yes. You're like, yep.
Wow. We need please. Yeah. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Microsoft, Apple. There you go. How do you like that for your next idea?
Yeah. Instead of fact checking, it should be a dumb check. If you do this, you will be perceived as dumb.
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Special dumb dialogue options will be presented to you at your next workplace event.
That is so good.
Yeah.
That's really cool though, that you can take penalties in order to further boost other stats. So did you take any penalties? Did you like make yourself really bad at stealth so you could be really good at shotguns or something? Because that's something I could see you doing.
I did it just because this is my first playthrough. I want to experience everything the way it's supposed to be. But I did say if I get if this is a really good game and I do another playthrough, I got to see what the dumb options are.
You have to.
Like, I want to see it literally came up like a warning, like you will be perceived as a dumbass. Please do not.
And then you can role play as like this like dumb caveman Neanderthal that just runs around and beats people with like a big stick or like a big gun. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
So I don't know what I'm in for yet. So to anybody that's watching this and they've played the game already, just stop it. Don't. This is it. This is literally how far I've made it in the game so far. So I'll get there and I'll do a full review when I'm done. But I like that just right off the bat. It was just like, are you sure you want to be this dumb? I never got that as a disclaimer.
No. Seems like it has a really good sense of humor though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's by the guys that did Fallout. So I would expect, I would expect there to be some good self-deprecating humor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there you go. That's what I've been up to. Is very slowly trying to create my own character
minute by minute.
Yeah, in the Outer Worlds. There you go. Okay, so
speaking of dumb stuff, though.
Yeah, speaking of dumb stuff,
this is a topic that I know got you really heated because you thought it was pretty dumb. We're heading into sports, and it's fair or foul edition because there's a couple of topics here that have people shouting, "Oh, that's not fair. That's foul to do that." So right off the bat, pun intended, a little bit of baseball controversy. Rich, take it away because I know this has got you all up in a mood.
Yeah. So earlier this week, we had the riveting story of Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm trying to make sure I pronounce his name right. Tatis. This guy did nothing wrong, but on Monday morning, you would have thought he freaking, I don't know, took a dump on the home plate or something.
Well, what did he do that got everybody so annoyed?
So he plays with the Padres. They're facing off against the Rangers. They're going into the 8th inning, and the team's doing really well. They're up 10-3 going into the 8th inning. Tatis is up to bat, gets 3 straight balls. It's a 3-0 count. This is perfect for him. The one addendum that you may harp on is the fact that his manager did call for him to look. Didn't he? He said, "Don't swing. You're at 3-0. It's up to the pitcher. The pitcher has to throw a ball in the strike zone. I would rather you."
I mean, I don't know a lot about baseball, but 3-0, you let it go just in case they accidentally throw a fourth ball, you get a free base.
Right. Or the ball just happens to move outside the strike zone. You take the look and see if you can get a walk, and with the bases loaded, that'd be a free run.
Right. Exactly. That makes perfect sense.
But not Tatis. Tatis is a competitor. He's a player. He's a real player. So you know what he does? He swings at that bastard. And guess what? He hits it out of the park. A freaking grand slam in the 8th inning to take this ball game from 10-3 to 14-3. And oh boy, all of a sudden, all the baseball purists came out of nowhere. Oh my God, these baseball purists, they need to die already. Because they came out, they said, "Oh, he's violating the unwritten rules of the game. You're not supposed to swing with a 3-0 count and bases loaded. You're up by 7 runs." All these excuses. And I can't believe this. No. These are professional baseball players. You're allowed to go as far as you want. There is no mercy rule in the professional leagues. And to put it bluntly, who's this pitcher that is giving up 3 balls and then a home run right away? This guy sucks. Maybe throw a better damn pitch.
Yeah.
So I'm just blown away that this was even a controversy. Obviously we knew this was coming. The opposing team's manager, he didn't like the move. He said, quote, "I didn't like it personally. You're up by 7 in the 8th inning. It's typically not a good time. It's kind of the way we were all raised in the game, but the norms nowadays are being challenged. Boo-hoo. Boo frickin' hoo. Your team sucks. You're down by 7 runs in the 8th inning and you give up a grand slam. You need to reevaluate everything that you have done in this game, including your pitching staff, who apparently can't get people out." Oh my God. Just why? Why is this a controversy? Mike, you better start talking because I'm going to keep going.
Okay. Well, I was letting you have your moment. On the soapbox. So I agree. that they are professionals, and my argument has always been the quickest way to shut up an opposing team is to play better. So I agree that in the 8th inning you should not be loading bases and have a 3-0 count. Like, you're putting yourself in a bad situation. It's either, you're giving up a run any sort of which way you cut it. I will say that here's the thing. I'm of a split opinion because there are certainly unwritten rules in sports. I think it's different, though, in baseball than other sports. It's one thing to pile on, like a football team like the Patriots, to run up the score when they're just, like, crushing an opponent and they have complete control of the game, because there's a time limit, right? and you can kneel the ball and you can run out the clock and you can get your win. So there's that aspect of it. Baseball doesn't play that way, though. Baseball only ends when, one team finally puts away the other team, and you have to do whatever you can in order to do that. And 10-3 is not an insurmountable lead. It's a big lead, but it's not insurmountable. 14-3 is a more insurmountable lead. So while there are unwritten rules, I don't think that applies in this situation. I think that the smart move would have been to take the pitch. And I think that there is something to say about strategy and, not trying to risk anything. Well, there's really nothing to risk in that situation. I guess as a young player, they want to instill in him, take the easy run instead of potentially, striking out on a, keep swinging for the fences and eventually strike out on a 3-0 count. So there is certainly a learning moment there, but don't fault him for trying to play aggressively. So I see arguments on both sides. I see that there is unwritten rules. I don't think they apply. And I do see that this is a learning experience and that he should learn to take that pitch, but don't fault him for wanting to be aggressive. I'm trying to find a middle ground here.
No, don't find a middle ground. So to your first point, just go all the way and say the unwritten rules are horse crap. All right? No. No. All right?
There are unwritten rules in sports. It doesn't apply in this situation, but there are unwritten rules in sports.
Well, this one is atrocious. All right?
I don't think running up the score is possible in baseball.
Every now and then, I tell you, and you laugh at me, but every now and then, sports has to be reminded of the great Herm Edwards rant. You play to win the game. You don't go out there to just play. If your pitcher is just going out there and he's just throwing pitches just for the hell of it, and he doesn't give a crap about where he's throwing the ball, get him off the mound and get him off of your team.
Oh, yeah. I completely agree.
You are being paid. These players are being paid to play baseball. Don't half-ass it. If you're down,
they're at the top. They're at the top of their profession. They should be held to a higher standard. I'm the person who wants to go for it on every fourth down. I'm Doug Peterson, So I understand being aggressive, and like I said, to the people that say there's unwritten rules, yes, but I don't think it applies in this situation. I don't think that there's no let's stop swinging. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's the thing: in football and basketball, you can run out the clock, right? There's an unwritten rule: take the knee, run out the clock, get the win. You can't take a knee in baseball.
Other than, I guess the only thing you could possibly do is just not swing, for all the pitches.
But that's ridiculous because even in my example of football, when a team has a big lead, they just run it and run it and run it and run it, and that is a strategic way to ease off the gas, to pull back, because you don't need to keep piling on. There's no reason. You've won. Just play it safe, play it smart. You can't do that in baseball.
Yeah.
You either have to keep swinging or don't swing. I think in this situation, like I said, there's a lesson to be learned about taking the easy run, but don't crucify him for wanting to. If the pitcher pitches one right down the pipe, fucking crush it.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Screw it. Yeah. This is 2020. Nothing makes sense anymore. If the score is 1-0 or 100-0, and you throw a meatball up there for me to me to hit, I'm going for it. I don't care what the score is.
Yeah, exactly. So
and also another thing too is a lot of these players, when they either sign a contract or are negotiating for a contract, especially in baseball, a lot of it is based on performance. So you're going to tell me you don't want the guy to try and add 4 more RBIs to his stats this season? Get out of here. No, this unwritten rule of not running up the score is such utter BS, especially in professional league. This does not make any sense in a professional setting. I can see this. I can see that in little league. All right. You don't want to make the kids feel bad, even college. But at a professional level, no. This is your fault. No ifs, ands, or buts. The Texas Rangers, go home, cry to your moms. I've had enough.
I've never heard. You hear about unwritten rules all the time, but never in this way. I've never heard of the unwritten mercy rule in baseball. I've heard of that in football. It's certainly a thing in football because there's a mechanism for it. There's no mechanism for it in baseball. You get what I'm saying? Like I've never heard this applied in this capacity. So it's very strange to see this all of a sudden. Because I wasn't aware when they said unwritten rules. I'm like, yeah, there's unwritten rules, but I don't think this is one of them. I have to go check the unwritten rule book.
Yeah.
I don't. Have you ever heard of easing off the gas in baseball? Like it's not a concept that's familiar to me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's nonsense. It's absolute. Maybe take your starters out or something. Do something like that. But other than that, you can't blame this guy for going for a grand slam.
Yeah, no, you can't blame him.
No. So I got my blood pressure rising this whole week because of this story. I can't believe this was like the top story on like ESPN and like.
It's because people are desperate for news.
Well, this is far too. This should not have been. This one, as far as I'm concerned, should not have been an issue. I don't know. And the Texas Rangers and their manager, go cry to your mommies or go cry in a bucket or whatever you do in Texas, because obviously you guys are wimps. Pure and simple.
You know what's interesting is to add a little bit of parody to this. The Padres manager and Tatis himself both commented on it, and we're both sort of in line. Like, I think there is something to be said about the strategy of it, but don't fault him for what he did.
That's what I mean? I will give you that credit. That's what I think his own manager was more upset about, was that he disobeyed an order.
Right, because you take the easy run.
Yeah.
So like, if we're like 10-9, take the easy run. You want to be a little bit more conscientious.
Yeah, if you want to go after Tatis on that, that's fine. Like okay, that's like that's a trope that goes back to the 80s in Top Gun. Like the young man doesn't know what's good for him. He has to listen to the coach, and he doesn't realize the coach is looking out for him or something. So fine, you want to go after him down that's fine. But as for the actual grand slam, no, that's BS. Don't complain that your pitcher went down. First off, gave up bases loaded and a 3-0 count. Like, I'm sorry, your pitcher is atrocious.
In the eighth inning, you gotta pull him.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right, so I got excited over baseball. It's time for Mikey to get excited over football, because this is also kind of a one of those fair or foul kind of areas.
I think you're going to be surprised at my response to this one.
All right.
So let's go over the headline. The Cowboys released one of their big free agent signings in defensive tackle Gerald McCoy after he suffered he had a season-ending surgery to repair his ruptured right quadriceps tendon. So they released him one day after the injury. There was an injury waiver in his contract. He had a 3-year, $18 million contract. So there was an injury waiver there that they could release him. And McCoy gets to keep $3 million, and the Cowboys save $3.25 million. But I guess the sort of shocking aspect of it is you have this, relatively big name free agent. He's going to help bring a lot of, firepower to that defensive front for the Dallas Cowboys, and he has this season-ending injury, and they just immediately cut him and get rid of the last 2 years of the contract one day after the injury. They say he was part of the conversation, but Rich, fair or foul, is this a bad look for the Cowboys? Are they cutting their nose off to spite their face?
Well, so unfortunately,
this is a tough one. This is a bit more gray than the previous one.
Yeah, and I think actually we might be on the same side of this. Because unfortunately, the NFL stands for not for long. This is a problem within the NFL. The fact that any player can be cut for any reason. The NFL is actually, if you're not a superstar player, the NFL is actually one of the worst leagues, because you don't know whether or not you wake up the next morning, you still have a job. You can be cut for any reason, and there's nothing you can do about it. And especially if the contract that you signed outlines an injury provision in it, that happens. There's nothing you can do about it. So I will say this move is very indicative of the Cowboys. But unfortunately, we got to be fair. This is a move that I think most teams would make, because it saves cap room. And especially the Cowboys, they are drowning in cap worries. because they don't know what's going to happen with their quarterback. Dak signed the franchise tag.
$50 million man coming up. You watch.
Well, yeah, they don't know what they're going to do with him. So, unfortunately, as much as I would like to take this opportunity to rag on the Cowboys, this is a move that I think 30 out of the 32 NFL teams would probably make as well.
Yeah, and I'm of the same opinion as well. It's, you know, the clause was in the contract. They knew that it was an injury that he could sustain because he's had issues in the past. He's 32, 3-year contract. What are the odds that he could? So here's the thing. I guess he could come back. They could keep him on contract. He could come back next year and play out the contract and be just as good. The odds of that at 32 and for $18 million, you have to start weighing those pros and cons. And while it might be a bad look, it's a reasonable thing to do as well.
You'd rather take the cap room.
Exactly, yeah. And like $3 million isn't a huge savings, but every little bit helps when you have to juggle Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, and Dak Prescott, which is the Cowboys' pickle that they find themselves in, is trying to juggle all these big star players. So while it sucks for McCoy and, it's going to be a big loss for the Cowboys, it's a reasonable decision for them to make. And I hate the fact that I can't get mad at them for it, but I'm with you. It's totally fair. Totally fair.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is one of those. If you're angry at the Cowboys, you're actually angry at the symptom of the problem, not the actual root cause of the problem.
Right.
The real problem is contracts and how players can get effed over.
Yeah, and that's why in recent years we've seen a lot more focus on the quote-unquote guaranteed money of a contract. I don't know. Growing up, Rich, I never used to see guaranteed numbers. It was never a thing that people had to talk about. It was like it was $100 million contract. I remember when Mike Vick got signed to a $100 million contract. People were angry. Mike Vick's not worth $100 million. And I was like, the contract's actually $30 million because there's only like 1 or 2 years guaranteed. I remember like shouting that till I was blue in the face. He gets cut after those 2 years. He never sees 70% of that $100 million. That's the reality of NFL contracts. And that's why we see more and more often they advertise or they publicize the guaranteed amount. And so that's what McCoy's getting, the $3 million guaranteed out of the $18 million.
Yeah.
And so
that's it. Good luck.
Yeah, and that's it. You're right. That might be the last money he sees from his NFL career, which
also, by the way,
I don't know how he's going to survive on $3 million, boo-hoo, but
Also, by the way, he's also got to rehab. I think he had a quad tear. He's got to rehab that now on his own. He doesn't have access to the Cowboys facility.
That's right. So, in terms of the dickishness of it, I guess that's the real thing that stings is now he's got to go about and do it on his own. He doesn't have a huge professional sports team to help him rehab it. I guess that's a fair point. That would be the one thing that I would be upset at the Cowboys for.
Yeah. But again, I hate to let the Cowboys off easily. Again, this is a move that probably 30 out of the 32 teams would have probably done.
The only team that wouldn't do it is the Eagles. Alshon Jeffrey, let's go, Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh!
Name an Eagles wide receiver that's not a rookie or injured.
Fantastic! All right, let's end the sports on that. Fantastic. All right, let's get into some entertainment news, and we got an interesting update because last week we had an interesting segment about Fortnite and Epic Games taking on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. We have an update. Mike, what's happening?
Yeah, so Apple is not playing around. They're willing to go nuclear on this like Epic was. Apple recently threatened to revoke Epic's developer access to the Apple App Store and all of Apple's development tools. So basically, as early as August 28th, Apple can hit the big nuke button, the big red button, and completely remove Epic's developer account, basically, which means they don't have access to Apple's development suite, the dev kits, all the backbone stuff, which also has a huge impact to other developers because Epic makes a game development engine called Unreal Engine that a lot of people have probably seen the logo before their favorite video games.
Comes up for the Outer Worlds.
There you go. So if, say, the developer that makes Outer Worlds wants to release something on the App Store, the Unreal Engine will be lacking the toolkits that Apple makes available. So it impacts developers who work with Unreal Engine from bringing their games to the App Store as well. So this could be a huge, like, seismic shockwave that affects not just Epic and Apple, but other people caught in the crossfire as well. And it's a little surprising that Apple is willing to go nuclear on this. They made a statement that they said after, reviewing of the activity associated with their account, that they found several violations of the developer program license agreement. And they outline in bullet points all the things they're going to lose access to, all the dev kits, all the APIs, the tools. They won't be able to release stuff on any of the Apple devices. This could get pretty ugly. I wonder if Apple's really going to do it, if they would really nuke Epic's access. This is like a big game of chicken right here.
Yeah.
Is Epic going to bow down, or is Apple going to bow down? I don't see either of them bowing down. This is pure posturing right here, but it's posturing that could eventually lead to these two duking out. I think they might. What would be really insulting is if they come to a settlement and Epic takes the check and just walks away and abandons this whole movement that they made for an easy payday.
Yeah.
That could very well be the outcome here. It depends if Epic is really fighting this for changing Apple's policies, or if they just want the extra money.
Yeah, and that's something you can't put past Epic Games. They are a huge corporation, so they could be in it just to get a quick payday for this.
Yeah. What do you think if Apple pushed the nuke button? What would your reading of the situation be?
Well, then that's the start of that. That's officially war between these two entities.
Do you think Google follows suit, or do you think Google's that's a step too far? We're just going to let Epic do whatever they want to do? Because Google's wrapped up in this too. And the question is, do other developers follow suit now?
And are they still trying to do Stadia, that video game thing?
I think it's still technically a thing, whether or not it's a real thing anymore.
Yeah. Because for Google, I would say it kind of depends on that. If they still want to push Stadia as trying to be their video game system, then they aren't going to want to be bogged down by something where they can't use the Unreal Engine. That's used in a lot of video games.
It's used in a lot of games. You don't want to make enemies with these companies that you depend on.
Yeah.
Fortnite made over $1 billion on the App Store. Apple made billions of dollars off of Fortnite on the App Store. It seems like something that they should come to an agreement on. And I said last week, and I say it again, I actually think Apple should update their policies and allow a little bit more leeway when it comes to games. Specifically, other apps, sure, maybe keep a tighter restriction to make sure that they're safe. But these are games from major corporations. They've already gone through vetting processes. You can vet them and then still allow them a little bit more leeway. Apple's argument is that it keeps everyone on a level playing field, and it does, but it's also very restrictive.
Yeah.
So there has to be a middle ground there. And Apple's shown a middle ground on the computer end of things. The computer system is not as closed as the mobile operating systems. So if they can find a middle ground with their computer operating systems, they have to be able to find that middle ground on the mobile operating systems too. And we've seen that over the years where they allow Google Maps to be the default map. And they allow, in their next operating system, they're allowing the mail default change. It's something you never thought. Even YouTube being on iOS, it was never allowed in the very, very first iPhones. So they've shown an ability to grow. And I think if they want to be a player in the game space, they have to do it again.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, this could either be a whole new rewrite of how the App Store works, or it could be a complete wall that gets built up against this. So
it's a crossroads. It is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. What is it? August 28th. That's the deadline.
August 28th. So
that's next.
yeah.
That's next Friday. Oh my gosh.
That's next Friday. Yeah.
Good luck. Yeah. Good luck, Epic Games, if they still plan to continue their game of chicken.
And that's how you know it's a real posturing move, because they only gave them like a week and a half from when they made this announcement. They're like, let's go.
Yeah.
We're not messing around.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. So
interesting. So that's the update there.
Interesting update. That's an interesting update there. We'll see how that plays out for August 28th, next Friday.
Yeah.
All right. Our next topic is, wow, it's somewhat serious, and it involves one of my favorite entities in the streaming YouTube sphere. One of our favorite shows is BuzzFeed Unsolved. It's a fantastic show. If you've never even seen BuzzFeed Unsolved, go watch all those episodes. They're amazing. But the two guys that helm the show, Shane and Ryan, they decided to spin off and do their own video entertainment company, which they call Watcher. So they are their own platform. They make their own videos, and they make their own podcasts. And it's really interesting. I love following it. They also employ another person at the helm named Steven. So together they have a three-way co-host on this podcast that they do called "What Would You Do," or here's how you would do it. And basically, lately this past week they got into a little bit of hot water. So the premise of the show is all of their listeners, they send these three guys, Ryan, Shane, and Steven, they send these guys either social scenarios or life happenings going on, that presents like a problem, and the three co-hosts, they banter and say how they would solve the problem. Things got pretty serious on the last episode, where a fan decided to write in on a situation where I think 19 or 20-year-old university student said that she wanted to go on a camping trip with her friends, but she wanted to essentially disinvite one of her friends who has recently said various homophobic and racist things in their friend circle.
Okay.
And a pretty serious topic.
It's a very timely topic, very serious topic. Yeah.
And Steven, we're going to show the clip in a little bit. He's the one on the far right. He came out with I think a pretty interesting answer. But unfortunately, the community took it very harshly. So how about I'll just play the clip and then we can react to it from there. So this is the direct clip from the Watcher podcast. What would you do? Here's his answer to the question.
I mean, but the question really is, how does this person do this camping trip, or do you exclude her? Do you? Because I'm trying to think of the solution for that, and that's where I mean, frankly, I'm kind of stuck too, because, like you said, Shane, it's very situational. It's hard to really read into this, because I have a lot of friends who are a little bit racist and a little bit homophobic, and I'm still friends with them. And I'm not saying that I'm friends with them because of their values. I just value them as people themselves, and I try to keep them around and try to educate them with what I can. But it's not something that I don't want to. I don't want to cut ties with everybody because of their belief system. Because frankly, I have a different value system than Katie and Shane and Ryan. Like I think a lot of it is on a spectrum. But if this person is like outwardly judgmental, it's really hard to say. It's hard for me to read into this, because my initial reaction is to try to be as understanding as possible to this person and to at least have a conversation, like Shane was saying.
Okay, so there you go. That's the quote. So basically, everyone got harped up on the fact that he said or admitted that he had some friends who happened to be homophobic and racist, and he still remains friends to those people. And the comment section just lit up, just saying that how could he still, first off, how could he say stuff like that? How could he still be friends with people like that? It got so bad they had to issue another follow-up podcast to correct what he was trying to say in that bit. It's actually a really interesting follow-up in which Steven goes over that there's different levels of what he was trying to insinuate. But for right now, Mike, what's your gut reaction to this whole meatball of just it's a mess of a meatball story here?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It speaks to the larger issue of they call it cancel culture in pop culture now, where somebody says something and they get quote unquote canceled, meaning that everybody basically like shuts them out and does what they can to like if a celebrity says something, they like make sure they never watch any more of their movies or listen to their music or whatever it is. Basically they try to like erase them from the popular culture sphere. So it speaks to that, this like immediate outrage. And I think that, I personally don't have the time or the patience for regressive views. So I don't want to mince words here. Like if you're racist or homophobic, I don't have time for people that hold those regressive, backwards, offensive views. What I think that this person was trying to say is that we can't just completely disallow for the possibility that people can change as well. I'm sure everybody in their walks of life have known people and probably still know people that have views that they don't agree with, views that are probably, offensive to some. And I think his problem was calling it like a belief system and a value system, because racism and homophobia is not a value system. It's not a belief system. So I understand people latching onto those words, but they got the gist of what he was saying, and that people have different perspectives, right or wrong. And what I always found is that people had those perspectives because they just weren't knowledgeable enough, And so what I always try to do is I approach it from the perspective of, let's have a conversation. Let's try to, if the other person, this is the thing, not everybody's going to be open to changing and evolving their views. They're just not. And that's what I mean by I don't have time for regressive views. So if they're not willing to engage in a good faith conversation, then that's at the point where you're like, okay, we can't be friends anymore. But if you approach the person and be like, that's not cool what you're saying, and here's why, and here's how it makes me feel, here's how it makes other people feel, and they're like, gosh, I never thought about that. You have to allow for that potential.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what he was getting at, really, that I think he didn't articulate well.
So in the follow-up podcast that they immediately put out after that, Steven, he goes over those two types of people that he's talking about there, and to a degree, this is something that I think opens up the larger issue with cancel culture, right? And my problem with it is there is a huge 3,000-mile wide difference between like a friend who maybe he makes an off-color joke to you on the way, to get a six-pack or something, versus somebody who you're with who is about to say something like, maybe the KKK has some good points. Those two people are extremely different cases, all right? The first guy, that's where you can say what you said. Open up a conversation, try and reason with that person. Maybe you shouldn't do that. And that's somebody that you can still work with towards, making them, see the flaw in what they did, versus the second person who is an outright racist, never going to change. Like, that is two different categories. We cannot as a society, we cannot lump those two people together. All right.
Right. Because everybody, whether they admit it or not, have some sort of implicit bias towards something. Right. It's not necessarily about race. It might be religion. It might be gender. It might be whatever.
Politics.
People have implicit biases. And I learned this in a psych class back in college, where stereotyping is how we parse information quickly and how we make sense of the world. It's how the human mind works. It's acting on that stereotype, that implicit bias, that takes it from our natural human processing in our brain. It's like a computer, and takes it to the next level of being offensive and negative and detrimental to other people in society. So yeah, we have to recognize that there is a spectrum. Everybody's accidentally made an offhand comment that is, not okay, at the risk of being canceled ourselves. We grew up in a generation, and I'm sure you can relate to this, and I tell my younger cousins this all the time to try and instill in them. I think you know where I'm going with this. We used certain words growing up, our generation, that you can't use anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Derogatory terms for people with mental disabilities, or LGBT community. We used to use those types of words as insults.
Yep.
It was fairly prevalent when we were young. I remember on the schoolyard, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, people saying those words. You can't say them anymore, because now we understand how detrimental it is to people of those groups.
Yep.
Right? So if we're capable of change, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in our age group that experienced the same thing, right? So yeah, the outrage, make sure your rage is at the level appropriate for the situation, and make sure it's directed appropriately.
Yeah, that's another thing too, is the anger for all this, I feel, is really misplaced.
Because
like, everybody,
I'm angry at racists and homophobes too.
Yeah, everybody on this is essentially on the same team.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
They should not be fighting off against each other.
Right.
Exactly. And I don't know. I feel like you should not be also wasting your time writing comment after comment after comment after comment on a YouTube page saying how you're gonna stop watching this person.
Right. Yeah, because that's the thing.
It's almost like a weird form of stalking them, if you think about it.
Yeah. It's like reverse stalking.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You're right. They are both on the same side of the spectrum. They are, like, the people who are angry at them are progressive, just like they are. BuzzFeed, people that come from BuzzFeed typically are more progressive leaning. So you're canceling people who are fighting for the same ideals.
Yeah, you're going after your own teammates. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So yeah, make sure your rage is at the appropriate level and directed appropriately too. I'm all for getting angry about these issues. They're issues that anger a lot of people, myself included. But like you said, really think about what he was trying to say. His words maybe weren't as, elegant as they should have been, but the point that he was getting at is that there is a difference between, people, like you said, badge carrying Ku Klux Klan members, and somebody who acts, says something offhand and then apologizes for it. There's people have the potential for growth. And to further that point, when you told me we were going to be talking about this, I was like, there's a story. I remember a story, and I got to find it to bring it up. And I found it. It's an NPR story from 2017. There's a man, Daryl Davis, a blues musician, a black man, who was able to convince 200 Ku Klux Klan members to give up their quote unquote belief system, to revoke their Ku Klux Klan membership and, be more progressive minded people. And the way he did it wasn't by canceling them or getting mad at them and shouting, and he just talked to them. And this is a story I used to bring up when I taught these types of things in college, is that a lot of it comes from not understanding and not being exposed to different perspectives. Communities sometimes are very insular. And so as, somebody who's in the Ku Klux Klan and a white person who, probably they don't talk with a lot of black people. And he talks about that's how it started, is he was performing at a bar with his band, and somebody was like, man, that was awesome, and they started talking, him and this white guy, and they were talking about how Daryl, this black guy, had sat with lots of white people and had a beer and a meal, and this white guy's saying, like, I've never had a meal with a black guy. And he asked him why, and he didn't want to say. The white guy didn't want to say. And then finally he got out and he's like, well, I'm actually part of the Ku Klux Klan. But there he is having a beer and a meal with this guy, and he's like, well, shit, like, your music is awesome, you're a cool dude. There's no reason for me to have these views. And he convinced 200 people in that same way, just sitting down and talking with them. So there is the potential. We don't want to you don't want to spray and pray bullets, just cancel everybody. There has to be, we have to go about it more intelligently.
You have to at least be willing to offer the olive branch first. Right. All right.
And, obviously some people are going to knock it away, and that's fine. And that's when you're like, you know what?
At that point, then all bets are off.
Yeah, don't confuse me. I'm not being like, oh, let's be real kind to racists. Like, no, be like, here's what you're saying, why it's wrong. Let's talk about it. And they're like, no, and you're like, fine, see ya.
Yeah, then cut them off. Yeah, then right.
Right, exactly.
But that's what we need. There needs to be that distinction between, the people that you disagree with, that you can have a conversation with, and you can work on that, for lack of a better term, common ground that you can start the dialogue with, versus somebody that is completely gone. They're never going to change they're in the KKK. That right.
And you can tell when you talk to somebody that has views like that, you can tell whether they're open to it or not.
Yeah. And those two types call for two vastly different responses, but they all get underneath the umbrella of a racist or homophobic or whatever comment or whatever people are targeting. And that's just not right. And that's the problem, in my opinion, with this whole backlash against Steven, which I still think is bizarre.
Because he's more, what he said was,
I didn't think it was that crazy.
No, I don't think it was either. He was calling for a more, just to have those discussions. That's what he was saying. He was saying, call them on it and have that discussion.
Yeah.
He wasn't saying, like, he wasn't being like an apologist, like, let them say whatever they want to say. He was saying, like, no, like, try to talk to them about it.
Yeah. And then if they don't, all right, well, then you're on, then give them the axe. Then you're not part of the crew. But you just can't outright just come out with the blade and start canceling people and everything. And that's my main problem with this whole cancel culture woke BS. It's just it gets too ridiculous too fast.
Yeah. I mean, like, there are certain cases where it's like, okay, like, I remember when what's his name? South Carolina. What's his name?
All I just heard was South Carolina. What?
House of Cards. What? Frank Underwood. What's his name?
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. He got canceled. That was warranted.
Yeah.
That was creepy and offensive, and he did a whole bunch of shady shit. Cancel him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but like, there's a difference between that and this guy using the wrong word to describe how to be progressive.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I guess my final message is just, everyone take a deep breath. Just do you really need to write that 5th YouTube comment saying how brave you are that you're gonna not watch this guy's show?
I think that's what annoys you more, is the fact that people feel the need to publicize that they're not going to watch it or listen to it. If you're really that offended by it, just don't listen or watch to it. Why do you have to advertise the fact that you're not going to listen or watch it? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now, with that in mind, this is why we strategically placed the dumbest part of the show right at the end, because now that our brains are fried and we already covered all the serious topics, now it's time to get to the dumbest topics and make ourselves laugh with the odd news. I've got your weekly odd news right here for you.
See, that's why we're a good balance, because we hit them with a little bit of intellect, and then we bring it all the way back down.
Yeah, we did dumb sports, mediocre, then like really smart, and now back to dumb.
You got to bookend it with the dumb.
Right.
That's the secret.
Very important. Okay, so for our odd news story this week, we're going to Alabama.
Oh, goody.
Oh, boy.
Talk about dumb. No offense to, or all the offense to Alabama. I don't know. You choose.
Alabama. Hey, that was where they had the squirrel cook-off, so...
That's right. They do. They have squirrel cook-offs.
Yeah.
I really do want to know how squirrel tastes, though.
Go down to Alabama.
You'll go down to Alabama. Got to go to Bama.
I always... so, my girlfriend, Rachel, she's... every now and then when she sees, like, a cute bunny or something, she'll point it out. And just as a joke, I'm always just like, oh, well, that's dinner tonight. And and the one time she said the same thing about a squirrel, and I said, yeah, that's dinner. And she was like, oh, how could you even say that? I'm like...
And you pull up the podcast episode.
I'm like, I have proof. we have covered squirrel cook-offs. So...
Yes, we have.
Anyway, that's our Alabama... At least that's the first thing I think of when I think of Alabama. I think of squirrel cook-offs.
Squirrel cook-off.
If you want to Google that, go ahead. Just Google crispy noodle squirrel cook-off. It's somewhere. You'll find it. But we have a new Alabama story here. Usually when someone decides to drive through a Home Depot, usually when someone decides to drive to Home Depot, they usually get out of their car. But not Gwendolyn Braswell. This 42-year-old Alabama woman, cops say, was behind the wheel of a Pontiac Sunfire, and she decided to turn it into a drive-thru because she drove that Sunfire through the Home Depot on Friday morning.
Oh my God. So did they go through, I guess, you know how they have like the big entrance where they bring like all like the wood and lumber out of? I guess, did she
fit her car. That? She fit her car through it.
Wow. Did she, okay, I guess you're going to get in it, but did she think that's what it was for? Like, oh, no. This is the drive-through section of Home, no, okay.
No. So police identified 42-year-old Gwendolyn Braswell. It was recorded on surveillance cameras, which was then used to identify her. So she is now facing multiple charges, including burglary, criminal mischief, and theft. So what she did was, first, she actually walked into the store and purposely staged merchandise that she was going to steal, including a leaf blower and a dehumidifier. Very important. She needed that dehumidifier.
Okay.
It does wonders for the skin, I guess. I don't know. Really gotta have
I
that.
Guess.
I'm gonna do some yard work, and then I gotta make sure my skin's okay. Yeah. So I don't know the logic there. So she placed those items right outside the entrance. Then she backed in through the store's front sliding doors. The Pontiac clipped some of it, so unfortunately her car got a little dinged up in this little makeshift drive-thru she's creating.
It would have been so much easier just to like make a run with these things.
Yeah.
Like, this is way too elaborate.
She backed in successfully, so she was able to do that, steal the items, but then on her way out, she plowed into a display which scattered items all over the place. So, unfortunately, some poor schmuck had to put together a display case full of items.
But, like, okay, so here's my problem with this. So she set up the items, right? There's a staging area.
Yeah, where she's going to go.
Items where she wants to steal.
Yeah.
Then she backs the car into or through the entrance.
Yeah.
At that point, if you're shopping there, you're an employee, you're like, there's not supposed to be a car inside the store. I wonder if something's going down.
Is this a new promotion?
Right. Because here's the thing. Because that draws immediate attention to it. And then she backs it in, but doesn't she have to get out and load the stuff into the car?
Yeah.
Like, this takes time. Wouldn't it have been better to just casually walk out of the store without drawing attention to yourself?
Maybe she just wanted to grab the certain things that she wanted and put it in the car and drive off all in one.
I just feel like if she just casually walked out of the store, she would have had a higher chance of success.
I don't know about a leaf blower. How would you casually hold a leaf blower on your way out?
But you know what? There's so much going on. They're like, oh, did she pay for that? And she's just walking out. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of doubt. When you back a car in, there's no doubt what you're doing. You know, like if you have a bag and you put something in there, like, maybe they already paid. I don't know. You know, maybe they already, you know, or maybe they're coming to and from with a return. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Right.
There's doubt.
That's fair.
A car, there's no doubt.
Yeah, there's no.
You know exactly what's happening. If you back a car into a store, there's only a few things that could be going on. You could be drunk and lost, or you're trying to steal something.
There's no drive-through at a Home Depot, at least that I know of. Not even in Alabama. So unfortunately, when she hit that display, that's when customers were able to record video and record the Pontiac's license plate and gave that to cops. So here's something else interesting. I have someone did a quick photo of the car going in the Home Depot. Let me see if this works on the screen. Oh no, it goes away.
It doesn't work.
No, it goes away. Oh well. So I guess I can't share the screen. How about the mugshot? Let's see if my mugshot works.
See if the mugshot works.
Yeah, here we go. This is the woman.
Classic mugshot.
Oh, there she is.
There she is. She's sitting at her desk doing some very important Mad Men business work.
She's not very happy with what's happening in the offices of Don Draper.
She's upset. Productivity is down in the office, and she's just not happy.
She's gonna hit.
You know what it is? They don't have a dehumidifier in the office.
She's gonna. Oh, it went away. Oh well. I don't understand the algorithm that's used to get the face on, but sometimes it works. So
it's impressive that the mugshot usually always works because it's probably trying to detect that like shape of a human.
Yeah. So there you go. That was 42-year-old Gwendolyn Braswell inside Don Draper's office.
Okay.
After she plowed through the Home Depot.
Did she drive the car to the office too?
Very, very busy woman. She's
busy woman.
A career-minded woman. She's got to get to the office.
Yeah, she doesn't have time to park. She just drives straight into the office.
Yeah. She was finally caught a couple days later, and she's locked up in lieu of a $58,000 bond. So
wow, seems like a lot. I've never understood bond. You know, like it's just all over the place. 58,000. That's a lot.
Before the coronavirus hit, I was gonna say I was gonna contact a bond or a judge or somebody. I wanted to find out. Yeah, how are these bonds actually set?
How is it tallied up?
Yeah.
Like, is it itemized?
Yeah.
Like, it's like you knocked over a display case. That's $1,000. How many items on the display case? That's $100 per item. Like,
do you get like a bill?
Right, like a bill. Like, yeah, it's like check, sir. You know. I want to know how they got the 58,000 because we've had stories where it's like somebody was exposing themselves and like riding an alligator and yada yada yada. It's like $100.
Yeah.
And like she steals a leaf blower, $58,000. Like, you know, how do they come up with these things?
Yeah.
You know, it always piques my interest.
Yep.
But this lady, she's a bright one.
Yeah.
Driving the car into Home Depot. Like, that's the thing that annoys me. Like, it's a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
She doesn't even try to be stealthy.
No stealth. No,
that's how you would do it.
This is how I would do a theft in a video game.
Drive the car right in.
Just drive in, load it up, drive as fast as you can. Bat out of hell, get out of there. Simple as that.
You and her speaking the same language.
Yeah. All right, so there you go. That's the odd news of the week. Now, before we wrap up the show, it's time for apocalypse activities. What do you recommend people do this weekend?
That's a good question.
You always forget about this part of the show, don't you?
Well, you know what it is? I'm running out of things to do. I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima. It's a huge open world game. Like, I could talk about that every single week. But I mean that's what's been occupying a lot of my time is Ghost of Tsushima. I mentioned HBO Max at the top of the show, gosh, I'm trying to think of like what else. That's really the only two things oh, you know what else they did? If you play Minecraft, they released a Jurassic World DLC for Minecraft where you can run the Jurassic World Park, and there's like little Minecraft versions of dinosaurs, and you can tame them and you can ride them, and it's really cool. You have to dig for fossils, and you have to put them in the little machine that makes the DNA, and then you got to combine certain DNAs to get an embryo. It's like a whole process to get a dinosaur. It's something to work towards. So they just put that out for Minecraft, and I was really impressed. Like there's helicopters and cars and like stuff that I've never seen in Minecraft before. If you're familiar with Minecraft, it's just a world of blocks. So it's like, how much can you do with blocks? Apparently, you can make dinosaurs and dinosaur parks and helicopters out of blocks. So it was really really cool. So I downloaded that. I'm giving that a shot. But if you're looking for a bigger piece of interactive entertainment, I would still recommend Ghost of Tsushima. It's PlayStation's last big exclusive before the PlayStation 4 goes the way of the dodo. We're getting ready for the PlayStation 5 release in a couple months. I've been really enjoying this game. Just the combat is so satisfying because there's a lot of potential for just taking people down in one strike, but you have to time things perfectly. It's all about like countering the attack at the right moment and cutting them down in one sword strike. And it's really satisfying when you can pull it off. Or if you, like me, you try to be stealthy and then get caught and then end up running around in circles with an entire Mongol army chasing you, wildly throwing bombs in back of you to try and kill off as many of the horde before you have to fight them. So that's probably what you would end up doing.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah. But it has a play style for everyone. You can be stealthy, you can be bombastic, you can be, the very calm samurai and cut people down in one sword strike. It's really, really cool. So that's what I've been playing, those two things on and off recently.
All right. Real quick, my apocalypse activity is go support your local restaurants, whether it's takeout or go and actually dine outside, however way you want to do it. So I would highly suggest you go do that.
Yours was a lot better than mine.
The reason why I say that, though, is also because I want to give a special shout out to my Aunt Dottie and my Uncle George. Sometimes Uncle George watches, so if he's listening, there you go. Tip of the hat to you. They are celebrating 50 years of marriage this weekend.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, right?
That's a huge milestone.
Yeah, not birthday. No. We're talking about 50 years of marriage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Pretty intense. So to celebrate, we're going to go to one of these local places. Socially distance, of course. Be safe, but it's a huge milestone, and it's something you don't really see.
No.
So
50 years is a long time, and that's really, congratulations. Seriously, that's awesome.
Yeah. So shout out to those wonderful people in my family. We'll see them this weekend. Okay. With that, it's time to wrap up the show. We are over our hour.
As always.
Yeah, as always. It always happens. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Crispy Compact Communiqué. If you like what you heard, make sure you go to our website, thecrispynoodle.com. Make sure you follow us on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole shebang.
That's right. You can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube, where you get the video versions of these podcasts. It's really, really cool. But you can also still get the audio version if you subscribe to the Crispy Noodle Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're everywhere. So make sure you search for, download, and subscribe to the Crispy Noodle Podcast on either YouTube or on the podcast service of your choice.
That's right. And we also have a SoundCloud page where you have the mini noodles. Go check that out. Quick promo clips that will make you laugh. Go check that out.
Absolutely. So many ways to get in touch with and share the Crispy Noodle Podcast. But if you want to get in touch with us individually to, let us know about sports, entertainment, or odd news stories that you want to see covered, or just random questions or topics that you want us to talk about, you can find us individually on Twitter. I'm at Mikey Costanzo, MikeyCostanzo.
And I am at Rich Liebig, RichLiebig. Find us on the Twitters. Let us know what is happening and anything you want us to talk about on next week's episode. But for now, we got to wrap this up. This has been the Crispy Compact Communiqué, a spinoff of the Crispy Noodle podcast. Let us be the Crispy Noodle in your vegetarian salad of life and boring news. Anything else, Mike?
No, that's it. Everybody have a good rest of the week.
Yep. So that'll do it. We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys
later. Bye-bye.